What's up guys, I want to take this video to talk about the Mustang Mach-E versus the Tesla Model Y. See what the differences are, see what the similarities are, and let me tell you there are a lot of similarities, and just see what are both of the cars actually meant for. So let's get right into it. Let's start off with the price. Let's get that out of the way first. So the Model Y is bound to start at about $40,000, $41,000 USD, whereas the Mach-E is said to start at $43,000. So already you can see that they're literally in the exact same price bracket, which makes so much sense because those SUVs are very similar and Ford did a really good job of keeping the price low and adding so many more features closer to the Model Y that normal cars wouldn't actually have. Whether they're an option or whether they come standard doesn't really matter. It kind of does matter because if you get the options, it makes the car much more expensive, whereas Model Y comes with pretty much everything as standard except for autopilot and the white interior. Everything else is just standard. So people say that Ford made a mistake keeping the name a Mustang Mach-E because it's an SUV and it's electric, which basically go beyond the term of the Mustang name, which isn't really supposed to be what the name is supposed to represent. It's supposed to represent muscle, sound, fun. I don't know, I guess that's what it represents. But basically, Ford has said that this car represents the exact same things. It's supposed to be fun, it's supposed to have some amazing sound apparently because they're gonna tune the motors or the speakers to output a certain sound to it, which is actually gonna make it sound like a spaceship or something really cool basically. And moreover than that, the Mach-E is actually supposed to have a really fast acceleration. Ford said that the GT version of the Mach-E will have a 0 to 60 in the mid 3-second range, which is really on par with the Model Y. Now if it holds true, that we actually have to wait until people get their hands on it next year in 2021, because no one really knows if that value is actually true right now. It could just be very well like 3.5, 3.8, who knows. And that makes a big difference. 0.3 of a second makes a big difference when you talk about 0 to 60 times. Now when we come to the Model Y already does 0 to 60 in 3.2, 3.3 seconds because people have already tested that, and obviously that was using other tires, lighter tires. That's how you get the quicker speed because those Uber turbine wheels are crazy heavy. So with those lighter tires you can get 3.3 seconds 0 to 60. Now does that hold true for the Mach-E? We don't know. Also, considering that Tesla might actually add a software update later in the future that would give the Model Y just a little bit extra boost in like the initial few feet when you actually put your foot to the metal, that would actually decrease your 0 to 60 time by like 1/10 or 2/10 of a second, which would bring your 0 to 60 closer to that of a real Model 3. Model 3 does it in 2.9 by the way. Realistically, with the rollout of course. So the Mach-E is supposed to have a 300-mile range. Well, at least it's supposed to have a variant that has 300 miles of range. Ford said it would have a 300-mile range with the rear-wheel drive, which is supposed to be more efficient for some reason than the all-wheel drive variant, which is actually not true for Teslas. The all-wheel drives are more efficient than a rear-wheel drive. Obviously the Model 3 is an exception because they use a different motor. So the Mach-E is supposed to have 300 miles of range in the rear-wheel drive version, whereas the Model Y already exceeds that at 315 miles. I think it's 316 now, but 315 miles nonetheless. Will Ford actually be able to compete with that range? Who knows? Because Ford actually says they are targeting towards 300 miles. So it could be, chances are it is going to be lower. Ford likes to kind of overstate their numbers. We can tell by their MPGs and whatnot. So chances are it is going to be lower than 300 miles. Who knows by how much? It could be like the Porsche Taycan, which reportedly said 300 miles and it turned out to be 205 or something like that. But chances are, I think Ford can make it happen where it's at least 280, just like the performance Model Y. What Tesla is doing, they're actually stating the numbers for the prototype that they have actually gotten during the time of release, and then a year later when their actual production variant comes out, it's so much better than the actual concept that it actually gives you more range. So that is one thing that Tesla does really well, is like innovation, and I don't know if Ford will actually be able to do it because Ford's entire business is based off of making internal combustion engines. That's probably why they chose the Mustang brand for the electric vehicle instead of the Ford brand. They don't want to give that image. That could literally just hurt their sales by a lot. Just saying that, oh, Ford is going all electric, which I don't think Ford has any plans to do, at least not in the near future, for sure. Not even within the next decade. If they're saying we're gonna electrify everything, it means a hybrid, okay? It doesn't mean they're not gonna make BEVs, battery electric vehicles. They're probably just gonna put some small battery, make it a hybrid. It's just gonna be a Prius. Basically every Ford is gonna be a Prius. Now I want to talk about the interior of the Mach-E. Ford literally copied Tesla in pretty much designing the Mach-E, in designing the software, in designing the screen placement, in the ergonomics, and I'm not going to complain, because if you want to copy someone who is actually doing good in the market, and they're copying Tesla, and Tesla's doing an amazing job. Tesla's software is pretty much amazing. It's all very usable while driving, very versatile. Everyone who buys a Tesla actually doesn't really complain much about the software. They usually complain about little bits and pieces that could be improved with the software, so that's not really an issue anyways. A lot of people actually love the center vertical screen on the Model S and X. Obviously in the Mach-E you have something right behind the wheel, which helps so much. To me, it just looks like the i3 with a bigger screen. That's all it looks like. It doesn't actually look like, like a Tesla actually has the cover and it looks like it's nice and flowing with the dash. It looks more normal. With the Mach-E, it just looks like you just slapped a screen on. Same with the vertical screen. If they just either kept it horizontal like Tesla did and made it pop out versus keeping it vertical. If you're keeping it vertical, at least implement it in the dash like they do with the Model S and X. But I think that would have been more like blatantly copying the Model S and X. So I'm not going to complain too much about it, because Ford actually is doing a really good job. They're introducing software updates. They're going to have some sort of self-driving feature on their cars, some sort. I don't know what it's going to be, but some sort. They're going to have 4G connectivity. You can use your phone as a key fob. Pretty much everything that Tesla actually does really well today that people actually like about it, and basically rethought how you actually use a car. Ford is basically going on that route too, because it only makes sense to do it that way. If you're going to copy someone, copy the things that they're actually doing good on, but keep the things that your customers or your future customers would love to have. The Mach-E is supposed to be a very special car. Do I think that Ford will make a profit on the Mach-E? I highly doubt it, because as we've seen by the Bolt, the Chevy Bolt, Chevy is still selling them at a loss. And because of that, I have my doubts as to if they can actually bring out a Mach-E that can actually make a profit, because batteries are really expensive and Tesla has the lowest cost of batteries in pretty much the entire world. Ford is just buying batteries from LG Chem, and as Elon has said before, LG Chem's technology isn't really there yet. You're safe for buying batteries from like Panasonic or another company or something like that who actually does some innovation, whereas most manufacturers just go with LG Chem because they're one of the biggest suppliers and they can actually produce the batteries and most other manufacturers can't. That's one reason why Tesla actually built the Gigafactory, because they knew they would need a battery, and I'm guessing Ford will need to do that too if they want to get into the electrification field. The Mach-E also has a frunk. It has tons of storage room, or it supposedly should have a lot of storage room. It should be a really quick vehicle because electric vehicles are just quick in general. It should have a big battery pack to supply at least keep 200 miles of range, real 200 miles of range. If EPA numbers are lower than that, add a bigger battery, add a few more cells, whatever you need to do. That would just be my opinion. 200 miles is kind of like the standard. We're getting closer to 300 miles being the standard, but 200 is like the bare minimum. It's like, if it's below 200, good luck. So all in all, I actually think the Mach-E is a very good competitor, and it can actually prove to be a really good vehicle in Ford's lineup, and I think it will actually be a really good electric vehicle, especially an electric SUV. One thing I failed to mention was charging infrastructure. I'm just gonna say Tesla has nailed the charging infrastructure. Ford really didn't. They're not even planning on making chargers. They're just gonna rely on third-party installers, and I personally think that is a big mistake. Ford has said you can actually get about...
It delivers up to 47 miles in 10 minutes.
Whereas Tesla on the V3 network, you can get that same amount of miles in 5 minutes. So I'm gonna guess that obviously because the faster charge rate on a Tesla, you can get those many miles, and Teslas are more efficient, so they can actually pump out more juice, meaning more miles out of the same kilowatt hours, same capacity, and that just proves that Tesla makes the best vehicles. And I personally think if you are a Ford fan, you should be excited for this vehicle. Sure, the name is like whatever you can say about the name. Maybe not a real Mustang, maybe they should have just kept it under Ford name. Okay, I'm not really gonna talk about that because I honestly don't care too much about it. It's Mustang. I just call it a Mach-E. I just call it a Ford Mach-E. I don't even call it a Mustang Mach-E. It's just Ford's Mach-E. That's what I call it personally. I think it's going to be a really, really good vehicle. It's going to prove to be really good. Maybe not as good as the Model Y, but still much better than any sort of competition. And just because of those factors alone, I think gas vehicles are basically at the end of their time. If you buy a new gas vehicle today, and many SUVs are actually coming out that are in that price range, like $40,000-$50,000 US, you're gonna have a hard time selling them in like 5 years down the road or something like that, because more people would actually want to buy an electric car rather than buy those stupid gas guzzlers that don't even have half the features of that electric car, because electric cars are just pure innovation. Companies just like to throw everything at them. That's one thing I really am excited for. I would love to see one in person, and I would love to actually drive one and just, you know, overall compare it to how good of a car it actually is. Chances are it's not going to be as good as a Model Y, but still really good car. Just like the Porsche Taycan. It's not really that good of a car, like not good of an EV, but it's a really good car. It can take you places, it can charge at home, so it's really convenient. It's really quick. It has the performance stats of a real performance car, so it's a real Porsche, but obviously it doesn't have the range, which means it's not that good of an EV like a Model S. But then again, you know, to each their own. So thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed this one, and comment down below, what do you think? What would you prefer, a Mach-E or a Model Y? Personally, I would prefer a Model Y at all costs, because it's just gonna be a better vehicle, and I'm personally, yes, I'm a Tesla fan. Sort of like a Tesla fanboy, and I don't know too much about Ford. I haven't really liked Ford, but now I'm actually getting into the Mach-E because I actually like the looks of it. They're pretty good. It looks pretty nice. It looks more aggressive than the Model Y, I'll tell you that much. So I'll leave it at that. So thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed this one, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Peace.